Hey, I'm Brittany. I'm converting my first gen Toyota Sequoia into a stealth camper. In my first video, I replaced the rear handle actuator and latch, which is a common issue that these first gen Sequoias have. And while I was working on it, anytime I would close the door, I would kind of be locked in the car. I'd have to go out through these side doors, go around and open it. And since I'm turning this into a camper, I realized that's going to be a pretty big problem. So as soon as I finished repairing everything, I went in, I was watching some YouTube videos, and I found a YouTube channel that actually sells a modification to the rear latch so that you can have both an exterior latch and an interior pull. So I have an interior trunk release, which I think is going to be much more convenient as I'm camping. The company is called Aired Down Adventures, and it's pretty cool because, again, it's specific to these first gen Toyota Sequoias. And so one of the things that they included were stickers that look basically like my first, just a cooler version of my Sequoia. So it's the little things, right? But anyway, so I'm going to take everything apart again and attempt to install this, and we'll see how it goes. Real quick before I get started, this is what was included in the kit. So again, the company is called Aired Down Adventures. They do have a tutorial that you can watch on how to install all of this, so that's what I'm going to be following along with. 2 of these Sequoia stickers. This is the exterior trunk release now. The metal is a little bit bent, but in the instructions they talk about straightening this out, so I think it's supposed to be a little bit softer. The cable, which will be for the interior release, and then some little pieces. I know there's some zip ties in here, and like a little pull so that from the interior release you're not pulling on the cable. So yeah. Now, I never put the plastic back on from my first video because, again, I was installing this kill mat, and also I found this installation immediately after I fixed the first latch, so I knew I was going to be replacing it. But it's pretty simple if you do need to remove your plastic panels. You start at the top. That one snaps off pretty easily. Then you go to the sides. This main panel down here is the one that's going to give you problems because there is this metal lip that you have to like lift it up and over to get the panel off. You're going to probably watch a separate tutorial for that because there is a couple things to unscrew before you can do that. But anyway, what I need to do now is unscrew this panel again so that I can access everything in there. So I have my impact, and these I believe were the size 10 bolts. So luckily I have this set now that I can attach to my impact. The real question is, can I do this one-handed? There should be 2 more. Mine was missing them. So the trick to getting this off is to kind of pop it off this one and then lift it up over these 2 plastic pieces. I cannot do that one-handed. And this is where it gets annoying not having that interior trunk release, because I'm going to have to exit the vehicle from the side doors and go around to open this up. Now, in every video I've seen, except maybe one, they just kind of let this panel dangle by the electric wires. For me, I'm worried about that damaging the wires, so we have a little hook that I'm gonna be, it's in my garage so I need to go grab it, but I will hook this to my door so that at least most of the weight has been taken off of the wires. You can also disconnect it. I don't know how, it doesn't look like it'd be that complicated, but I'm not gonna mess with that. So, and that's the little hook that I'm talking about. Pretty simple, but it does keep some of the weight off of the wires. Okay, then from outside the trunk, we need to remove this plastic cover, which just kind of pops down and off, and then you have 3 more bolts to detach, and then I'll be able to pull this out and get it out through the panel. Once you have it unscrewed from here, you can just kind of push it back up into that hole, and then you should have a plastic clip that you can push up to disconnect this cable to give you a little bit more space to work with it. Mine is zip tied on, so I'm gonna have to cut that to unhook the electronics and get that box out. So now that I got the electronics unhooked and I was able to detach this from the cables, I can start installing the new latch and the new cable. However, if you watched my first video, you'll see that I ended up using the original part just because I was having issues with the cable fitting, and I hollowed out this really wide area. But since I'm completely switching up how this is going to open, I'm going to go ahead and put the new part back on, which I did hollow out that channel just a little tiny bit so that this pin can go up and down a little bit easier, which is one of the reasons that I think these break so frequently. But yeah, I'll get this put on and then I'll get started. Okay, I think I got everything connected. So I have, again, the cable that's going to be for my interior pull, which should, let's see if I can do this one-handed. No, I'm not gonna be able to do it one-handed, but the cable will basically pull it like this, and then of course I have this latch now that's gonna stick out from the bottom of the trunk that will also be able to open it from the outside. So now I just gotta put it through. As he shows in the tutorial, I did have to straighten out the lever a little bit, so hopefully that was enough to make it fit through the hole in my trunk. I got everything reinstalled. A couple things that I did notice when I was doing the install. First of all, the way that I have the lever sticking out the bottom is hitting the bottom of my door right now, which is preventing it from returning to its normal position, and then that's preventing the car from locking and unlocking properly. So I will need to bend that to make sure that it's out of the way. Also in the tutorial, they were talking about adding self-drilling screws. Like they added a hole right here, and I just didn't really want to do that. So I zip tied mine to this little plastic piece that was already there. And that will also put it a little bit more to the left for me, because this is where I'm going to be putting my cabinet and sink and everything. So I figure the more center this is, the better. So I'm going to get the door panel put back on. Also, side note, I noticed when I was driving around that there was some rattling going on in here, and I think it was this cable was just so loose, so I kind of lightly zip tied it to this other cable just so that it's not clanging around over here, and I'm hoping that will cut down on a lot of the noise, in addition, of course, to getting the panel back on. So let me do that and see if I can get this project finished up today. Okay, here's the panel all put back together, and again you can see how I tied this on. The plastic edge ends up going under this plate, so I think it's pretty secure. I am going to add some Reflectix to this to hopefully try to keep some of the heat out. One thing I want to point out, if you look at this crack down here, I can see to the outside, and I realize that the plastic panel isn't back on yet, obviously, but that's quite the gap when we're talking about it's 110 degrees outside, right? So might have to get another weather seal or something too to help block that a little bit. Okay, real quick, I'm adding a layer of Reflectix to the inside of my door panel. And basically I just cut a piece approximately to size, and then I'm tacking it up with little pieces of this reflective tape. And then once I get it all kind of set in place, I'll put down tape all the way across. Now of course there are holes where the panel's gonna need to clip in, so I've just been cutting those into the Reflectix so that I can get that panel back on. And hopefully this will, one, fit, and two, help cut down on some of the heat coming in through this back door. Okay, here it is all taped up. Just gotta put the panel back on. Got all the door panels reinstalled. And so let's see how this works. Basically you just pull this and push. And then close it. A little lever here. Obviously the normal handle has been disengaged, so that'll no longer work, but you don't need it. Pretty cool. Definitely worth the $60 and 6 hours.